Welcome to The Cynical Developer, the podcast that helps you to improve your development knowledge and career through explaining the latest and greatest in development technology and providing you with what you need to succeed as a developer. In this episode, we talk to Payam Pakmanesh about soft skills and communicating better and all the things that are wrapped around the world of that sort of stuff. So Payam writes about soft skills, psychology, and taking risks. He's been in tech for half a decade and he spent the last 4 years as a software engineer. Payam is originally from San Francisco, but has been bi-coastal between San Francisco and New York for the last 2 years after he convinced his company that he could be just as productive. So in his free time, he enjoys editing videos and traveling. So welcome, Payam.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for taking the time to come and talk to us. So you're in the soft skills space at the moment. You're quite new to this area, and you've got a YouTube channel, I believe.
That is correct. Yeah, I've had the YouTube channel for about 2 or 3 months now, along with my blog, and basically the mission that I have is I'm trying to help people that are in technology. So whether you're a software engineer, developer, you edit videos, anything where you're dealing with the computer on a daily basis, I'm trying to help these people out with their soft skills as well as their social skills. So just the goal is to become more well-rounded in a world where we are constantly dealing with gadgets, whether it's our phone or a laptop, and we're sort of losing that face-to-face value.
Yeah, sure. It's definitely something I've come across in my career. You find a lot of developers, they might be very good with their programming smarts and skills, but stick them in a room with someone else and they cower away. They can't talk to them. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle certain situations and things like that. Totally.
No, I agree with you completely. And it's sort of the difficult thing is that in order to be really good at your craft, at your skills, that means that you would have had to have skipped out on a lot of face-to-face conversations and spent a lot of time just with you and the computer. And that's the only way that you can become great at it. So it's sort of, how do you become great at both? And I'm trying to sort of provide a shortcut that's entertaining and fun so that people that want to polish this up can do so without feeling like it's a goal that they can't reach.
Awesome. Yeah, it fits in quite nicely with the podcast and what I'm trying to achieve with it, because I'm trying to help people to understand more about the technologies that are out there, what they can do for them, and whether they should bother wasting time looking into a certain technology to see if it does a job. I hope to sort of get through that quite quickly in like a 30-40 minute show, so they're not having to spend 8 or 12 hours looking into these technologies. But then in between those, I'm trying to help with some of the softer skills that are probably very similar to what you're doing. And I've been talking about health and how many hours that you should work, and how to deal with annoying co-workers and little techniques on how to be more productive and things like that.
What do you mean, James? You mean you actually have annoying coworkers? That exists?
No, totally not. In my current place, none of them. For all of you guys that are sat there listening, none of you annoy me. Yeah, I'll cover that off now.
No, for sure, right? No, I totally, listen, I hear you, and it's tough to squeeze good, valuable information these days that's entertaining and fun. So one thing that I've done with my YouTube channel is I try to create videos that are under 60 seconds, where I'm trying to basically give little small tutorials in ways that is easy to absorb. Again, it's under a minute and it's entertaining, and hopefully that engages with people, because these days, you try to you look something on YouTube. Sometimes you come across a video that's 30-40 minutes. That's a little daunting to sit there and listen or watch. But if it's under a minute, then all of a sudden you might give it another chance.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not one for watching really long videos or reading extended blog posts. I like to read things that are short and sweet. Give me the facts, and then I can get out. And it's interesting way to do it. There are a lot of people out there that do the long form of it. It drags it out, and I'm listening to an audio book at the moment. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about different ways of learning. And I'm probably about 4 or 5 hours into it, and I could probably sum the book up in about 5 minutes. But the book's dragging out for quite a while with a lot of examples. That I think it was just to pad it out. I'm not too sure. But give me the facts. That's what I want to know.
I don't think you're alone with that, James. I think most developers are all about, give me the practical, actionable facts that I can use right now. I don't care about your story. I mean, I don't want to say everyone's like that, but for the most part, they want the meat and bones of the advice.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. It's definitely true. So your shows, they're a minute long. How often do you put out shows?
Right. So I've been trying to do once a week. Here and there, I've missed out on that. But my goal is to do one video a week. Each tutorial I try to keep under 60 seconds. If there are scenarios where I want to explain a long story or go into a little more in depth, then I'll have a video that's a little bit longer than that. I don't really time it. But for the most part, I'm trying to create a niche there where I'm providing 60-second tutorials for people that are on the go, or they just want to check something out on their phone real quick and don't want to save up all that time or use that time to watch videos. And again, I'm hoping to be a little more engaging, fun, and there's some humor in the videos as well. So it's a little more lively, not cut and dry.
Sure. It's good. And I thought about getting into doing videos and things to accompany the podcast, but it's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that goes into producing each show every week for the actual podcast, and then I've started writing the blog posts and things and getting some guest blog posts. But from what I've been told from a few friends of mine that do YouTube channels, is that the work that goes into producing these videos is a lot. It's a lot of hours. So producing one, even 60 seconds of a video once a week, I take my hat off to you. It's a big endeavor.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, James, I mean, you hit it right on the nail there. It definitely is challenging. It's one of the benefits for me is I do all the editing myself, just because editing is a hobby of mine. So at least I don't have to outsource that. That saves me one step. But, when I'm doing these 1-minute videos, a lot of times the videos are 2 minutes long. And I'm like, how in the world am I going to cut this down to 1 minute? So I set a mark for myself that's sometimes difficult to achieve, but I'm staying with it. And, I got to follow your pattern of creating a backlog of material so I don't feel pressure to deliver once a week from nothing.
Yeah. It's definitely something good to do. And I managed to take a few months where I didn't record anything because I had the backlog, which was nice. But then I rested on my laurels too much, and it was a case of, I run out of shows in a week, so I need to pull my finger out and get some more people lined up to be on the show.
Sure.
But there seems to be people knocking down the door at the moment to come on, so it's not been not been too bad, to be fair.
Nice, that's awesome.
Cool. So we're here to talk about the soft skills and the and a better way to communicate. I think for a developer, because I know a lot of them do struggle with talking to people and things like that. So could you give us an idea of what communicating is from your point of view? Because for me, I know it's not just being able to talk to people.
Right. No, I totally agree. I think the number one thing that I would tell someone when it comes to communicating better is to know who your audience is. And what I mean by that is, whether you want to explain a problem or solution, whatever the case, you need to know who you're talking to, and you need to know their background. What do they know? What don't they know? What is their age? What is their experience? And your language needs to cater differently for each different audience. And the most common mistake that I see is that developers that I work with, or people that I speak to, they speak the same way to everyone, and that is incorrect. They need to cater that language differently for each different audience. So again, I would say the number one thing to know is, who's your audience, who are you talking to, and once you understand that, then all of a sudden your communication starts to get a little bit better, because now you're speaking in a way that they can understand you, as opposed to you just speaking the information. Yeah,
definitely. And I think to put it in an easy context, the way that you speak, I guess, to your parents would be very different to how you speak to your friends. And I think that's one quite contrasting sort of difference there to sort of say, you speak to your friends quite with slang terms and quite relaxed, whereas you're probably a little bit more respectful when you talk to your parents. And it's applying that in the same situation in the workplace when you're speaking to a boss or you're just speaking to a coworker.
Totally. No, I agree with you on that one, James. It's funny because just the other day I'm in a room where we're discussing some errors in the application we're working on, and one of the developers, he goes right into the very details of what are the issues and the errors, and they're talking to a product manager, and most of this stuff is going to fly right over the product manager's head.
Yep.
Now, what I try to guide them, and I say, hey, listen, why don't you break it down to the most fundamental step? And that means, using an example that a product manager can relate to. So, for example, do you have Facebook? Oh, you have Facebook? Great. So, when you log in and you see that picture, well, that comes from an API, so you're connecting it to something that the product manager uses on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. They understand it. They relate to it. They will understand you better.
Yeah. So these abstract images in the head, these thoughts, they can actually visualize it and get a better grasp of what they are.
Sure. Exactly.
I've been in meetings myself with developers and they start getting down into the nitty gritty of the problems, as you said, and it's learning when that's appropriate and when it's not, and really who you're talking to completely dictates that, and you've got to be very, very aware of that.
Totally. And I think, just another point on that is, in this day and age, I believe 99% of developers are using chat to communicate, which means that's a whole nother world of problems when it comes to communicating, because things can be very easily misunderstood through chat or texting or emailing. And even today when I'm speaking with developers we use Slack.
Sure.
On Slack, some will just jump right into what they need, what the problem is, and there's never a sense of building rapport. And I've been in sales for a large portion of my life, and that's a stark difference between, sales guys are constantly building that relationship, massaging it, trying to get to know you, whereas the developer is just straight to the issues, and there's no relationship that's being built. So that's a problem.
Yeah, and I think what you write in a chat window or in an email, it easily gets taken out of context. And I've had my wrist slapped several times because of that exact situation. I'm quite blunt on my emails. So sure. I'd probably, someone would say, oh, there's an issue and it's this. And I would just come back and go, no, that's not the problem. The problem is X, Y, and Z. We are looking into it. We've been looking into it for X many hours. We will have it done by the end of the day. These are the people that are working on it. Thanks for your concern. And if you could read it with the tone of me being quite angry at the fact that you're questioning what we're doing and what the problem is, and I'm going, here's what it is. I'm working on it. We have been working on it. It's damn hard to fix. Now go away. And it's not really what I'm trying to say, but because you're in that heat of the moment and you're trying to fix this problem, you're a little bit stressed. Those stress levels also work against you. So you just furiously quickly type it out and send it. And
sure.
And the person at the other end then gets irate and upset because they're feeling your stress out of what you've just said to them.
No, totally. And it's funny because in chat when I'm reading other members of the team, just a dialogue between all of us, very rarely do I see someone just ask a developer ask another developer, hey, how's your day going? Or hey, how was your weekend? Did you do anything fun? Like that small chit chat, it costs you maybe 5 to 7 seconds,
yeah,
but it pays dividends in the long run with your relationship with that person, the quality of work. I mean, your mood, their mood. I mean, it's a win-win for everyone. And it seems that, that's sort of disappeared more recently because of the evolution of technology.
Yeah, it definitely has. And I can see that in my day-to-day job that we're not often sort of asking about what you're doing tonight, what were you doing over the weekend, how's things going. But when we're in the office and we're actually talking face to face, we do have those conversations. And,
Sure.
So they definitely do get cut out when you transfer it to digital communication.
Agreed. Totally.
And one thing I find that people tend to struggle with is talking too much as well. When they should be shutting up and listening to what everyone else has got to say, and they just rabbit on and on and on, and don't give anyone else the chance to speak.
Yeah, no, I see that a lot in our meetings too. Someone will be talking to a developer and they'll just have their heads down. They already know what they want to say, and the person hasn't even finished talking to them. And that's the simple art of listening, which is very difficult to do, is, actually listening and hearing what the other person is saying, then formulating your response, taking a couple seconds to make sure your emotions are not part of that response. It's a skill. It's not easy to do because by nature, we sort of get defensive if we feel like someone doesn't agree with us. But learning to master that, something again that I haven't even mastered myself, is an art form. And if you can do that, you'll start to see that your relationships with people will blossom.
Yeah, definitely. And having a short fuse, I think, tends to come with the territory of being a developer. You're on the defensive straight away as soon as anybody starts to criticize anything that you're working on and that it's wrong. I do try and take a step back from getting all upset about people criticizing what I've been working on. And I think two different situations occur. There's some situations where I can sit there and go, yeah, I wrote it. If it's not right, change it. I'm not bothered. And then other times I get quite defensive, and even though I'm trying not to, and I think it's because I've taken some pride in what I've done, but I found it very hard to do, produce that product maybe, and then it becomes my little baby, and I don't want you to touch it or harm it or do anything to it. And I've talked about it before on the show, and saying that you really need to let go of that ownership, because at the end of the day, the software that you've written is owned by the company anyway, and it's up to the company what they do with it. So do your best. If it's not quite good enough, then someone else will always help you or change it or fix it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I've seen that. I've dealt with that on my own as well, where people come and they'll mention something, and I naturally get into that defensive mode as well, because it's sort of that default mode that we all get into. One thing that I've realized that a lot of people just don't know how to give that sort of feedback. So one thing that I preach in my blog, and I've written a post on this in detail and a YouTube video as well, is whenever you want to give someone some feedback or some advice about something they did that you don't agree with, always start off the sentence by saying, I could be wrong, but when you do XYZ, it makes me feel like this, or this happens. But when you state that you could be wrong in the beginning of the sentence, all of a sudden their defense mechanism is not as high anymore, because you're sort of admitting that you don't even know the answer and that you could be wrong. So therefore you're not being arrogant, you're not pointing the finger, and they're more inclined to listen to you that way. But a lot of people don't follow this kind of stuff. They just speak their mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I've used a similar tactic in the past, where I've been managing teams and getting them to do things, and they would they'd submit their code, and I'd go and do a peer review on it, and I wouldn't be too happy with what they'd done. So I would go over to them and sort of say, look, can we just talk about what you've done here? And say, right, I can see what you're doing, but if this situation occurred, what would happen? And they'd obviously talk through it, and we go, okay, well, I would suggest maybe that we put this in here, or we do this slightly differently, but there could be another way. So if you want to have another look to see if there's anything else that we could do that was better to move it along, then that'd be great. And you're not being overly aggressive, but you're still being assertive enough that they know that they need to do it, but they're not going to take it in a way that they think, oh God, he's a bit of a dick, isn't he? He doesn't like anything I do.
Yeah. No, I actually what you just said right there, I do something similar where, because I love what you just said there, James. when you start off by saying that, you maybe there's another way, you're sort of suggesting another way, but you're not telling them what that way is. The fact that you don't do that, and when they solve the problem on their own, they will feel as if the root of that solution was developed by them and not by you. So they're going to feel good about that because they figured out the solution without you sort of handing it to them, which I think is great when you're dealing with people, especially when you're managing people.
Yeah, I think it is, and it builds their confidence. I worked with a guy who was very, very shy when I joined the team, and when I left that company, he actually came to me and he thanked me for what I'd done for him because I'd built his confidence up. He started to sort of think that he maybe wasn't very good as a developer and that maybe he needed a different career. And through me using those sort of techniques with him, he built up self-confidence, and he went from being a very shy person in a meeting to being one of the people that would stand up and tell me to be quiet when I was talking and not listening.
Yeah, we definitely need a few more of those.
Yeah, definitely. So we talked a bit before about communication when you're getting a bit stressed and a bit angry. Are there any more tips around that you could maybe give to the listeners to help them?
Absolutely. I mean, so whenever I'm in a situation where I feel the person is angry with me or the work, or they're just questioning something or the quality, whatever the case, I always do my best to there's two things I do. Number one, I ask myself, will this matter a year from now? And if the answer is no, automatically 50% of my stress has fallen off. That's number one. Number two, then I give the other person the benefit of the doubt that they are not personally attacking me. Maybe if they're in a bad mood, I tell myself, okay, well, maybe they just broke up with their girlfriend 30 minutes ago, or maybe they spilled coffee on themselves 2 hours ago and they just ruined that shirt that they bought. So I give them so much benefit that I really can't be mad at them. And maybe some of that is fabricated, but it works when it helps you develop the ability to not take things personal. Because at the end of the day, most people are not attacking you. They just have a question and they don't know how to articulate that. So I think those two things, knowing that it's not a big deal, ask yourself, will this matter a year from now? If the answer is no, then just let that sort of make things easier for you. And then number two, give the other person the benefit of the doubt that they're not attacking you, that maybe there's something going on. Maybe they're just in a bad mood because of something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does. Definitely does. So you're talking about people not being able to articulate the question properly. How would you suggest that they go about asking the question?
You mean from just any question?
Yeah,
or just
I think so, because I think whenever you question anything that anybody's doing, there's that chance of upsetting them a little bit because they think that it's that personal attack. I don't know. We talked about when it was an actual problem.
Sure.
That you understood the situation, that you could maybe suggest a different way. But when you don't know a different way, how do you approach that? Because it's very easy for that person to get defensive and think, well, you know nothing about this topic that you're questioning me about, so why are you questioning me?
Yeah, no, to be honest, I usually follow the same structure. I say, hey, listen, no, I'm not too familiar with this, or I could be wrong, or I'm not sure if this is how we're supposed to do it, but do you think there could be, and then go into whatever you want to say. Sort of providing that hesitation makes you come off as humble and not be arrogant, makes you come off as a little more genuine, a little more you're coming to that person with a little more softness as opposed to rigid and straightforward and almost bossy like. Yeah. But if you provide that hesitation, then it's they're gonna see you as someone that's trying to help them improve as opposed to you getting on their case.
Sure. And this sort of topic gets expanded on in your YouTube channel. Are you going to be sort of taking that any further? Are we going to sort of see maybe online courses and blog posts about this sort of stuff, about the soft skills side of it, for people that maybe can't watch your YouTube videos quite as easy?
Yeah, so on my blog, I've written a ton of posts already. Everything on my blog right now is free. I'm working on an online course that will cover all of this in great detail and provide scripts and ways that you can use all kinds of tactics to make your life better and the people around you better. Obviously, all the videos on YouTube are free as well. So I give away almost everything for free, and I'm trying to keep it mainly focused around soft skills, social skills in technology, because I do think that this is a real problem that a lot of people are dealing with, whether they want to admit to it or not. And I want to be the sole person that is focused just on this, as opposed to trying to provide advice for a wide array of things.
Yeah, just trying to niche down a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. Because there are a few other high-profile people that are out there doing this sort of thing, but they do cover a massive myriad of different topics. And one of the guys that that does it, I've had on the show, John Sonmez, but he covers all sorts of different things as well.
Right. No, my goal is to just focus on soft skills, because I do think that it's a real problem, and I believe that at the end of the day, the problem is only getting worse, and a lot of people can benefit from this material.
Sure. So we've touched on the communicating aspect of soft skills. What else sort of comes into that? What gets brought under the umbrella of soft skills? Because we hear it all the time, but nobody really defines exactly what that is. So what is it to you?
Yeah, it's funny because I do think that there are a lot of definitions for soft skills. At the end of the day, I would say that it's just being a well-rounded person. So that means, you know, being trustworthy, being able to communicate your ideas clearly, having empathy, being friendly, being thoughtful. A lot of these are intangible qualities that you can't really see them, but you feel them. And one of the most powerful ways is through empathy, is through knowing who you're talking to and really trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes and looking at it from the lens of them, which I believe is a very difficult thing to do, but is a necessary skill if you want to, get promoted and increase your career goals and get to that level where you can become a manager, become a VP, director, etc. You have to be able to work with people and understand things from the way that they see it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely true. When I first started out when I was younger, I was so shy and retiring and didn't want to talk to anybody. But I went and I ended up working in retail, and the 7.5 years or so that I worked in retail really gave me that oomph, that get up and go, that ability to communicate with people, and those soft skills which most people don't have. And I think that's helped me a lot in my career. The fact that I can actually stand up and talk and be heard, and I'm not too shy to actually say, whoa, no, what about? And that is missing for a lot of devs out there.
Yeah, and it's the old saying, it's who you know, not what you know, and there's some truth to that, I believe, but it's the message. If you read between the lines, is basically your relationships are very, very important, no matter what you do, and so you have to be able to create new relationships, maintain them, and provide value for different people, and be able to create that quality for yourself where people enjoy working with you. And that's what makes people great leaders and great managers, the fact that people like them and enjoy working for them.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to be working for somebody that you absolutely despise, and it's always better to have the team on your side and have them want to do things
Yeah.
for you, rather than they do it because they're scared of the repercussions. And being able to master these soft skills, I think, is the key to achieving that goal.
Yeah, and I think in this day and age where most interviews that are happening for developers and engineers, from the literature that I've read and the people that I've spoken to, most managers would agree that they would rather take a good engineer that they get along with than a great engineer that they can't stand. Basically, who would you want to go and have a beer with after work? That's the kind of personality you want to try to create for yourself, where you're enjoyable around other people. So it cannot be overstated enough how important these skills are.
Yeah, that is very true, and that's how I always approached my interviews as well. And people that used to sit in on my interviews from other departments, or I would sit on their interviews, they would always find it very odd, the questions that I would ask, because I would always ask odd questions to see what their personality's like, to see how they dealt with those situations where things were a little bit off the cuff, because I'm one of the people that if I don't like you, I find it very hard to work with you. And I push that onto my team that we need to work together. We all need to get along. And if we're not getting along, then something needs to change. Either one of us leaves, or one of us or both of us change our attitude. And like some of the odd questions that I ask during the interview process is that I would ask, if I ask the people that you currently work with to describe you, how would they describe you? And they'd give me some sort of made-up answer, probably about how great they were and how reliable and how tidy and their hygiene was impeccable in work. And then I'd say, well, what would your friends say about you? And that tends to catch them off guard, because then it's a case of, well, do they open up and they say, oh, you don't want to speak to my friend? They'd tell you I'm an absolute nutcase, that I'm out drinking till 4 or 5 in the morning. I get arrested most nights I go out because I just can't handle my drink. That's a bit of an extreme case, but if they give you a very canned answer, I see that as quite a negative thing, that they can't open up to you and be truthful about themselves to you. Because you've got to know that they're not going to spin lies behind your back and something on such a fundamental level of, well, what do your friends think of you? If they can't tell you the truth on that, then they're not going to be truthful on anything else, really, are they?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great measuring stick that you're using. It's funny because I was just cracking up at the BO thing that you said. That's very important, though, by the way.
Definitely.
You got to be using your deodorant. No, but on a serious note, yeah. Anytime someone's giving canned answers, it's a red flag, because all of a sudden now it almost comes off as untruthful, as that they're lying. Why not just be candid and honest about what people would say about you? And I think that's easier to read than most people would think. Yeah. So when you're asking questions, I'm sure, James, you see right through it if they're getting something that is not matching with the person you've been in the room with.
Yeah, definitely. And I like to throw them off. I'll give them a reasonably tough technical question, and then off the back of that, I'll ask them something along the lines of, if you could have a superpower, what would it be and why? Sure. And there's sort of 3 ways that this goes. It either stops them in their tracks and they don't know, and they can't answer. They've thought about this far too much in their own time and have a really long, detailed answer. Or they give a really creepy answer. And only one of those 3 will get you through my interview process.
Right, got you. What's the magic answer?
I prefer them to sort of like think about it for a little bit and then give me a reasonable answer that I'd like to be able to fly, so that I could get around a lot quicker and I could see the world and stuff like that, or something like that. But you don't want them to come in and go, I'd really like to be able to go invisible. And then I'd be in all those changing rooms. You're like, whoa, no. Well, you're a no. You are a no.
You are a no, but you're going to tell them that, you're going to call them back. No,
definitely.
It's that's hilarious, James. It's interesting because I do think that you can see these things right away, and the fact that people are coming in with canned answers means they don't trust their ability to be creative and sort of have that intuition to just have a conversation off the cuff, and I'm sure looking at this, like, is this someone, as you're listening, you've got to be looking at this. Is this someone that I could potentially go to happy hour with, that I could potentially work long hours with? And, you're reading all of this. So, and you're getting that information from those questions, which I think is great. So good props to you for still sticking with these soft skill questions at interviews, because I don't know if people are doing it as much as they should.
Yeah, no, I've been through a lot of interview processes myself, and get very few questions around me as a person. But like you say, if I've got to work long hours with you, the team's got to work long hours with you, there's going to be situations where I'm getting irate, you're getting irate, the stress levels are going through the roof. But we've got to be able to work together to the point where once that situation is gone and we've fixed the problem or we've solved it, that we can just sweep that under the carpet and go, great, I'll see you tomorrow, nice and early, and we'll maybe go for a beer on Friday or something to celebrate the fact that we got this done. Yeah, that's it. Those personal skills there, and being a person is something that I think people do need. There's too many people out there, and I've worked with teams where there's certain people that don't do anything outside of work with their work colleagues. Which, yeah, okay, that's fair enough, but you've got to attend at least one or two of these things and show that you are a real person.
Sure. Yeah, it's at my current job, when the interview, when I was getting ready for it, I looked at the person that was going to be interviewing me, just sort of read the bio about them, and I realized that they like tennis. So when I went into the interview, I'll never forget this. I'm really prepared. I in terms of just technical ability, I trust my instincts when it comes to social skills. I'm pretty confident when it comes to that. But I remember walking into the door, and the first question I said is, before we get started, I gotta know, do you like Pete Sampras more, or do you like Andre Agassi, and why? And then she just sort of laughed, and we kind of had this quick little 2-minute debate, and she was smiling and laughing because all of a sudden now I'm coming in as a human.
Yeah,
that's number one. Number two, she knows I researched, spent a little bit of time, and number three, she knows right off the bat that, okay, this guy has some social skills, some soft skills, and I can see myself working with him. So all of that has happened within just a couple minutes of extra time and just a small little joke right up front.
yeah,
And it carries weight. So that's what I'm trying to say.
yeah, definitely does. And when I've been sat in interviews myself, if I don't know an answer to a question, I'll just tell them I don't know and be truthful about it. The amount of times that I've interviewed people and they lie about it, they try and make up an answer. It just gets you nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. I've had a couple of guys that have claimed to have the Microsoft certifications. I want to question them about the modules. I think one of the guys, it turns out he went to a conference about them and
Gotcha.
decided that he could do it anyway, so wasn't going to pay the money for it, but he put it on his CV.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Yeah. It's yeah. So I think we're almost out of time for today's show. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing more of your videos come out. I'm quite into the self-development and improvement thing myself. I try to put what I know into practice and give other people advice. So having someone else giving me advice as well, I think is going to be good. And I'm sure we'll see you again soon on the show. And maybe a guest blog post. We never know.
James, this has been awesome. I really look forward to doing this again. It's been fun. I hope the viewers have picked up a trick or two here and there, but definitely let's do this again soon. This was great.
Yeah, sure. And I'll put all the contact details in the show notes, the YouTube channel and everything for Payam. So if any of you listeners out there want to get in contact with him, you want to go and have a look to see what he's about on his YouTube channel, they'll all be in there. So thanks again to Payam for coming on and spending the time with us today. Thanks to you guys out there for listening. This is The Cynical Developer. I'm James Stoddart, and you've been listening to Payam Pakmanesh talking about soft skills. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on your favourite podcast platform and help the Cynical Developer to grow by increasing its audience. If you have any questions about this or any other episode, then drop us an email, a tweet, or leave a comment on the website where you can find all the resource links and show notes for each episode.